So I think you can't undervalue how important communication is in this channel. And most SEO people I meet are so bad at this because like they're technical. They want to be technical and they can really understand algorithms, but they don't understand how to articulate to executives what they need. And this is the thing I love about being a consultant because I ask straight what they need and try to align with their goals. And like I won't take on a project if they don't have goals, and I'll make them figure out their goals. So figure out what your counterpart's goals are and build towards that. And in many of my engagements, and this I think applies for people that are working in house, there are two SEO metrics. There's the metric that is important for the executives because it's important for the executives, and then there's the revenue. So you have to take care of the executive one. So that's the way I'd approach AIO, AEO right now, which is the executives are very excited by AIO. They are very excited by AI visibility, but the reality is it's not necessarily driving the same amount of revenue that SEO is. It may never drive the same amount of revenue SEO is. But if you come in and say, well, AEO is just SEO and I'm going to completely ignore that channel, that's not what they want to hear. So you earn their credibility saying, yes, here's the 10 things I'm going to do. I've got it. You can leave this in my hands. You could trust me, but you're not going to keep your job sustainably unless you're driving revenue to show that this is a value. So you can continue doing SEO. You can like, that's the goal. The goal is, be profitable, build a sustainable channel. So it could be like you spend a certain amount of time on the real goal because you know that if you come into the executive and they're like, well, our SEO is tanked, everything sucks, and you're like, but I spent all this time doing AI. We're like, well, you should have told me that was a bad idea. And you're like, I tried, and they're like, yeah, you're still fired, right? You still do a good job. So you have to do what is right by the business, even if the executives want something else. So I think that's the way you earn trust and credibility by agreeing, by building into those plans instead of being that roadblock. And the other way is, and this is something I think a lot of SEO teams do really horribly, is report back honestly. There was I learned this both in house and as a consultant. So when you want to do something for SEO, you make a big ask. It might be an engineering ask. It might be, if you're a consultant, it might be a financial ask. And you get people to dedicate time and resources to something, and then it doesn't work out. And then you don't tell them. So then 6 months later, you make another ask, and you're like, yeah, how was that thing? You asked me to like move my domain over to subdomain and do, 50 million 301 redirection. How did it work out? And you're like, well, the data's not in yet, blah, 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 but it didn't work out. Right. So like, then they're like, no, you're done. You asked me to do all this stuff. So the way I look at this and when I try to earn credibility is do something small that I know will work out. And then you earn some credibility and then do the thing that you're not really sure. And I try to avoid those things I'm not really sure because it's expensive. So as soon as you blow up one of those things, you've lost your credibility. So I really think about how do you step into earning this credibility so you have that luxury of blowing something up and completely missing it. When I was at SurveyMonkey, we spent 3 years working on something that completely blew up. It wasn't my initiative, but I owned it. And I didn't report on it. Like I didn't say, hey guys, your thing didn't work out. But when they asked, it made it very difficult to ask for any more resources.